Hey, how you doing? This is Craig for Digital People Folk, and today I wanted to go over some tips for first-time developers developing on Flutter. And this is based on my experience. So, give you a little bit of background. Last year, end of June, I first discovered Flutter. I knew that, I wanted to develop apps for myself, and I realized recently that I've studied for the last year and I haven't released anything. So last week, I challenged myself within 48 hours, can I develop an app? Something very simple, just one screen, and can I submit it to both the Google Play Store and also the App Store for iOS? And I succeeded. So I wanted to give you some tips based on my experience for the last year on what helped me to understand Flutter and code better. I'm going to try to keep this sort of short. So, number one, wireframing and prototyping. So, one thing that you should have is some software to help with wireframing and prototyping. So, this is for those people that are coming in that aren't coding before and looking at Flutter as a good solution to get their ideas out. Having a good software such as Balsamic for wireframing, and it's available on both Mac and Windows. Or for prototyping, you can have a program such as Sketch or Figma, which is available on the cloud or Android. Sorry, not Android, or for Windows or Mac. So that would be my first tip. And learning how to prototype better would be something I would suggest. Two, other languages. So it might sound funny to say that studying other languages can help you, but I found that studying JavaScript, Node.js, and Python helped me tremendously to understand how to create backends, how to a lot of concepts within Dart that the boot camps did not actually really go deeply into. And the reason being is that a lot of the boot camps are taught by people that are JavaScript programmers. So they know that and they think that the concept is that some people are coming over from doing a JavaScript based language to Flutter. But if you're not familiar with JavaScript, basically you might get lost. So I would suggest learning, going and taking at least a couple of hours of JavaScript. It may help you. Um, Three, database design. Learning NoSQL or MySQL would help you a lot with creating your backends for your app. A lot of boot camps do concentrate on or emphasize how to create apps that are pulling from RESTful APIs, but I want to create my own apps from scratch and I want my own database. I want to really start from scratch. And by learning how to develop your own database, it'll help you a lot. It'll help you even if you're going to deploy your app with a backend on Firebase or Firestore or MongoDB or Heroku. It'll help you. Next would be GitHub and version control. A lot of the tutorials actually don't get into how do you manage version control for your app, and how do you utilize GitHub with Flutter. Really, I couldn't find any of the tutorials that I was going over go over that, but it was something that was taught in the JavaScript and no and the Node.js courses that I was doing. So I would say that this is also good while you're creating apps and releasing it. You want to. This is a requirement for the app stores. You have to actually version your apps. What's changed? And if you make a mistake, you do want to roll back. So I think that understanding version control is very important. So the last is the accounts in general. You need two accounts if you're going to deploy apps yourself. One, you need an account with the Google Play developer account, then also you need an Apple app developer account. I would say please do this, set those up way before you actually need to deploy your app because it takes time. Um, with the Google Play Store, if you have a G Suite account, you do have to, and you're going to use that email address, you do have to make sure that that you are the admin and can actually add that within your configuration that you're going to utilize that. If you find that you can't use that email, that is the reason why. With the Apple Store, with the App Store by Apple, I found it a lot more complex. So I'm coming from where I'm using a corporate account. So I made a company, and this account is for a company. The company that checks verifies your company. Basically, it was a little bit hard to work with them. They submitted the incorrect information. They told me that definitely I needed a phone number to that I had to give them, and you have to know that anything you give them will become their public data. So I didn't want to give a phone number to them, and reality is you don't have to, but they kept saying I had to. Um, Apple afterwards does verify themselves and they will call you, but I would rather just give the number to Apple and not Dunn's and the Dunn's people. So that was one thing to look out for. The second is the free versus the paid developer account. No one told me that if you have a free account and you're testing on your iPhone, those apps only last for 7 days. No one told me that. And you can only have up to five apps to test on your iPhone with the same account. That's not something that I saw anyplace. So I am paying for a developer account so that I can submit to both stores. So that just solved the problem for me. But I was unfortunately testing at first in another account. So that really, when I didn't know that what was going on, basically I had a very large app that I was opening up that crashed on me each time that I tried to open it up, and I thought it was my coding. So I wish that this was common knowledge, and just trying to share with you that that the free account for developers for Apple, it only lasts for 7 days, and then your app will not open. You basically have to re-sync it for it to work. But anyway, I hope that these tips help you. And this is just to tell you that I'm happy that I can utilize Flutter to make my dream come true of deploying an app, and I will definitely create a lot more complex apps in the future. Anyway, Craig from Tokyo signing out. Bye bye.